Welcome to the Baila Room podcast. And now we have a very special guest, a good friend of mine. He is in the forefront right now of COVID 19. Usually, I start the podcast with like a caveat saying that we are no experts. Whatever we say and we talk about COVID, to take with a grain of salt and defer to experts. I'm not going to say that today because we got somebody that knows a little more than myself. So Martin Pham Dinh is a physician with 20 years of practice in emergency medicine. He focuses now on clinical communication and the science of well-being and longevity. He's also a fitness freak, passionate home cook, and lover of life. So, so first things first, I want to roll back time a little bit because I wanted to touch base with you. I wanted to do this podcast first when I invited you for the podcast the first time about
hmm
6 months ago, and I know you were quite busy. I wanted to know about your process of stopping medicine and concentrating on other things. I know you were very active for 20 years, and then your mindset changed, and just like give us a little bit of your thoughts on leaving medicine or leaving the practice of emergency medicine.
Well, the story starts before that. First, I survived a separation and a divorce. And, in the decade preceding that unfortunate event, my life was pretty typical and predictable. And then suddenly, it's like the castle of cards just blew. And it was a shock initially, but I recovered. And I saw life then as an open book with blank pages that I could start over. And I understood at that moment that change was good and I should never be afraid of it. So a few years later, 2 years later, I started having doubts about my practice as an emergency physician. You're comfortable with what you're doing, you're good at what you're doing, but satisfaction is not the same, and the passion changes, and you start focusing more on the problems. And I saw when I started medicine, I hoped that emergency medicine would improve, and the working condition would improve. And when I looked at the horizon, I didn't see much improvement. And after 18 years, there was not much change in our work. People were still waiting. There was still a disconnect between expectations of care and resources available to give good care. So as I was looking at the horizon, I wasn't seeing any change, and there was like resources were not increasing and expectations were increasing, and the gap between those became more difficult to manage. So I just gave myself the permission to do something else. And when you've been doing something for 18 years like this, it's kind of um there's kind of a risk. You have to redefine yourself. Feels like jumping out of a plane without a
Mm.
parachute, and it takes some courage. But I felt that it wasn't that risky because I gave myself the permission to make a mistake, and I said, you know what, if it's a failure, I'll just go back to what I was doing, but at least I will have tried it. So I said, you know what, I just quit, and it's the best thing I did.
You don't hear about a lot of doctors quitting. Like that's not something very common.
No, we are trained to be to never quit.
Mm.
Um, but I think it's interesting to just say no and try other things. It
And
opens up our life.
what is on a day to day? What do you think was lacking? You said there was a lot of expectation, but not a lot of resources. What would you like to see on a day to day basis?
Well, you want to be able to treat people um, with how can I say this? You want to be able to treat people without them having to wait 12 hours to see you.
Mm.
And yeah, that's basically it. That's the most difficult part of it. is, people waiting so long to see us. And, there's just not that many of us. So when there's not enough doctors and there's 100 patients coming in the emergency, they just have to wait until it's their turn, and that's it's difficult because that people are suffering and waiting to see you, but you can't work too fast, because if you work too fast, you expose yourself to making mistakes. So there's always a fine balance between efficiency and speed and quality.
Hmm. Do you think that the problem is solvable if you raise the investment, or there's other issues?
It's a complex questions. There's multiple level of intervention. Um, I don't think it's just a question of resource. There's we all have responsibilities from ourselves. Eating well, sleeping well, not smoking, to local resources, to governmental decisions. So there's no one person who's responsible for these problems. And I thought that things could change, and I didn't notice that much change.
Hmm.
Maybe the pandemic will change a lot of stuff, and it'll be like a Kickstarter to help clean up our healthcare, or realize that healthcare is important.
Hmm.
Does it make sense?
It does make sense. Now, if we come back to the present time
Yeah.
traveling,
Mhm.
we are at the beginning of the fourth week of lockdown in Quebec, in Gatineau. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Mhm.
And I read on your Facebook profile that you were going back to medicine, and more specifically to fight COVID. Can you
Yeah.
tell me the thought process of doing that? And I'm asking you because I'm a wuss. I I
Okay.
I have to admit it. Like, I don't know if whatever you're doing right now, if I would have it in my bones to do. I'll be really honest. And I appreciate and can admire what you do from a standpoint from where I'm trying to remain safe and you're going towards, let's say, danger. And I remember in your post you were explaining the risks to your son with a very really nice image of picking up a pile of sticks, and one of the sticks you had a black X on it, and your son had to pick up the sticks until the danger can happen, and you can see the danger is just one stick in a pile of 100, which was a nice way to put it. But there's still danger. Now, what came to you? What realization came to you? What, from I don't want to do medicine, that's it, that's all, to let's do a complete turnaround?
Well, I was on a sabbatical from clinical medicine since last November. I had so many interesting job offers, and I was involved in so many things that I felt that I could now, really do something else. And when the pandemic arrived, I had this reflection. What am I going to do? Am I going to hide in fear and not do anything because I can? Because one, I was on a sabbatical, and two, I had no obligations to work. Or am I going to get out there? And you know what? I wrote this message to my girlfriend this morning, because she told me that through this process of being isolated, she has changed a lot. And I told her the same thing. The same thing happened for me. And the phrase that I sent her was, "You don't know." Um, how did I say it? Let me remember. Okay, you don't know what you stand for until you really stand for it. So, you know, I there's a lot of talk. People on Facebook and in life, are talking about being good people, values of equality, collaboration, community, um, all that, and it means nothing if it doesn't lead to action. you know so I was the one of these guys, the person who was talking, doing a lot of talking, and Now, now is the time to act. You can talk a lot about courage, but when the time comes to be courageous, you know, are you gonna be courageous? So there's a war. There was a war. The war is here. Starting slowly, but still, it's growing fast. And I have the skill to be a soldier on the front. You know, being a doctor. Helping people who are sick. And there are some values that I want to transmit to my son. Okay, and hiding in fear is not one of them. Okay, being there to do what I do best for other people is important for me, and I think that the benefit I and my son will get from taking that risk is greater than the risk itself. So that's why I decided to go, and I did 2 days of work at the coronavirus clinic last week, and now I'm in isolation, waiting to see if I'm going to start coughing in the next few days. And if I start coughing, well, I'll deal with it. And I can. I'm grateful for everything that has brought me here, and we'll see what happens. The odds of something bad happening are real, but they're not very high. And I told my son, you know what? If I want to have people caring for our family and our friends when they're sick, then I need to be there for other people's family and friends when they're sick. So I have to give what my skills to society, because that's in periods of stress we need to have to think not just about ourselves but about others too. So that's my main argument for convincing me, kicking myself in the butt to face these fears, because uh, when I went to work last Thursday, I was scared, really scared.
Mm, I believe you.
Does that answer your question?
It does. When you went for the first day, first, what's your measures at home? Did you your son is not with you, I guess, right?
No,
Okay.
my son's not with me. I have him every other week.
Okay.
So I went to work on at the COVID clinic on Thursday and Friday, and I won't see him until next week.
Okay.
So there's a period of observation. I'm pretty lucky because we're separated, and Liam can stay at his mom's. Most of my friends who are not separated, they go back to their homes,
Mm.
and for them, working brings a much higher risk for their families.
It's like two things, right? The risk that you're willing to carry for yourself, and then there's the
Mhm.
risk of infecting other family members. So let's say if I am, like, I would say, well, somebody would ask me a favor, like I'll go, or like I would be. I'm more concerned now about my own behavior because I have three other people next to me. If I was living alone, I might consider, I don't know, like doing stuff that is. I wouldn't say become a doctor because that's not gonna happen.
You
But
can
I
start
would
sewing homemade masks.
something. Well, whatever. Like the risk is different if you're, like you said, if you're alone. If you're like a whole family and you're like, I'm trying to respect the government measures 100%, and I am so upset to see other people in my community acting as if there's no virus. Like the kids are playing, there's groups of people in my street, and it bothers me for two reasons. The first reason is I'm doing a sacrifice. I am staying home, and really, like, I'm staying home. I'm not going out, like, at all. Like, this is it. We're home. And also, I have friends like you. I have friends that are nurses that go out and they're scared and they talk to me. And I go, well, for them, they are in the front line. They're sacrificing more than I do. And then I see other people that are in the street as if nothing is happening. And it just drives me insane, Martin. Insane. Like to a point where let's say if I just take a walk and I come back, I have to stop taking the walk because I am aggravated and frustrated. And I just go home and I tell my wife, let's go. We go in. I'm pissed because I don't fear as much COVID as I fear people's behavior. That's what scares me. Like people are saying, well, now the government, they're taking away our rights. Because what rights? Just listen to what they're saying. Just sit, listen. Nobody's going to intervene. No police is going to intervene if you just stay home and just do whatever is necessary. So that's what I don't understand is if we are a community, why is it so hard to follow just clear directions that, by the way, in Quebec are plowed into our heads with a very good communication system, and the government is doing an amazing job. It's not like other countries where one day it's something, the other day is nothing. It's very clear. The directions are very clear with images, and graphics, like people can understand. Like even if you have no education, you just look at it and goes, yeah, 2 meters. I don't know what you're
Mhm.
feeling about the whole scenario.
I think people are reacting emotionally and not rationally, and it's because they are experimenting a fear that they've never experienced before. So when people react emotionally, uh, anything can happen. This period of high stress will bring the best out of people, and it will bring out the worst. I think in the Sherbrooke area, there's a guy who ran over
I heard about it.
a clerk at Walmart just because he couldn't get in, and that's that's totally crazy. But that's somebody reacting emotionally. You don't think when you do such thing, but it's the same thing, I think.
But
And
don't you think that if it was emotional and there was a lot of fear, that would drive people to stay home?
most people it will. Um, there are always outliers and people who don't listen. I work in the complaint business, and I manage complaint offices, and I see people reacting emotionally all the time, and you don't. The best thing you can do is give people good information and be a good example and hope for the best. We're pretty lucky to have a government that is in Quebec, especially, that is well organized, strong. We have a strong, positive leadership. It's very different from what the Americans have, where their president is a person who reacts emotionally to anything. So I think we should be grateful that we're living in Quebec. For what happens to my neighbors, I see the same things that you see, and I have no control over this. The only thing I can control is my own reactions, and I try not to become too. I don't have enough mental bandwidth to become frustrated for the actions of others. I concentrate on myself.
But
I
don't
take
you
care
think?
of.
But don't you
Yeah,
think that in this sense, like I follow you 100%, but just one part that bothers me.
yeah.
Let's say if you see actions of people that are, let's call them irrational, emotional, or if you judge them, you go as these are idiots. They don't know what they're doing. That's one thing, because you're thinking if you go next to, let's say, a ledge and there's like a 50-foot drop, and he goes, "What are you doing there?" And the guy just tells you off. You're just saying, "Ah, well, he's gonna fall. He's gonna break his neck. It's his business." You just walk away. In this case, I feel that people's behavior put my own family in danger. For example, I'm walking and a jogger, like somebody just taking a jog, I see my daughter in front of me, and the guy just whizzed by her. I swear to God, 2 inches from her, but while he was turning. The rage that came about, by the way, I'm very emotional, just to let you know, you probably know that. That's the artistic person. So the rage that went inside me, I could have strangled the guy. Like literally, if he would have turned around, if I had time to say something while he left, I was to the point of like, listen, buddy, 2 meters is 2 meters. So if he's doing an idiotic behavior and he's putting himself in danger, that's one thing. But now behavior of people are influencing my own safety. So then it becomes like almost my business. So what can I choose to do? Stay home, not even taking walks? That's not reasonable. We're gonna go crazy. We need to move. So just move, go in your backyard. That we can control, but we still want to take that little walk. So yes, the solution would be not to go out.
You know what? I intervened also. Like 2 weeks ago, a neighbor of ours wanted to organize a gathering and share meals and distribute tire d'érable. How do you say tire d'érable in English?
That would be what's it called?
Maple.
Maple. I don't know, like
Tire d'érable. Anyway,
on snow for those who don't know what it is.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
maple
He wanted
syrup.
to distribute tire d'érable and share meals, and that was too far, taking it too far. And I emailed it. I answered everyone. Just stay the fuck home. And I sent him a video of what was going on in Italy. You know, army trucks, delivering dead bodies, and I'm like, just stay the fuck home, and they did.
But good
The
good
event was
intervention.
not organized.
But
Okay, but
Martin, you were ahead of the curve. I thought,
yeah.
I think I was ahead of the curve in my business surroundings when I was talking to people. I felt that at some point they didn't want to talk to me, and at some I kind of gauged what I was saying because I didn't want to demoralize people.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking, okay, well, he's going to realize by himself at some point that his store's going to close, and if he's not going to close, somebody's going to close him. It was crazy. I have one of my friends that got death threats like within a day. Like he just delayed one day, and people were threatening. It was bashing him online. I was like, whoa, this is getting solid. But you were ahead of the curve even before, like when you were talking to people about these things. How did you feel? Like, what was your take? Because you knew you had information. I know you read the international news. I know you were taking this seriously. Let's just say let's just be conservative and say 3-4 days before anybody had that thought, like even like it was nowhere in the news, and you were already talking to me about these things. And
Mm-hmm.
what was the reaction of people when you were approaching them with these scenarios?
Well, they just didn't believe me. Like I started thinking about this in February. Like I ordered on Amazon early February 4.99 masks, and I myself thought, "What crazy? I'm just crazy. I'm just going to order them, and I have a month to send them back anyway. If I'm just crazy, I'm just going to send them back." And I said, I'm just going to order them just in case. And I started following the news, and I didn't tell too many people because people would say I'm crazy. And I started talking a bit more mid-February, and I went on a trip with friends, and they said, I talked about this for the entire week, and they were nauseated from me talking about this, and they were like, Martin is going psychotic, And in February, I published a post about predicting, it was called the big crash, and I told everyone I'm getting out of the stock market, and nobody believed me. Like, for me, it was so clear because I've been thinking about this for weeks, and nobody believed me. And I called my financial planner and I told them, and she said, "Yeah, Martin, just people are still buying stuff. Don't worry." And I emailed her 4 times in 6 days, and I even emailed her superior, and telling him my theory. My market's going to crash because the stock market is an emotional place, and the emotion that's coming is fear. And when people start being fearful of what's going to happen, the stock market will crash.
Mm.
And I told them it'll be the biggest stock market crash you'll never see because we have Facebook now, and Facebook is like a big magnifying glass for collective emotion.
Yeah.
And well, we talked about it a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And well, crash happened. So and it's the same thing for the infections. I've been telling people, we have to be careful. And I knew that it was inevitable. So you know I tried to warn people, but it didn't work. But you know our government reacted as fast as they could, and I'm pretty proud of it. And our healthcare system is organizing itself in a way that is I have never seen before, and I'm really proud of it. But people will understand when everybody knows somebody who will be infected, like someone.
Yeah.
uh,
Two
and
people
now
now.
when it becomes personal,
Yeah.
people will listen. But when it's just when it was out of when the pandemic was, in other countries, we most people didn't care.
Yeah.
Okay, I cared, most people didn't care. Now it's in Canada. Okay, many people care, but most people, a lot of people do not care because it's not personal. And when someone
Oh, yeah, it has home.
or a family that will be hit, because every family will have somebody who's infected,
Yeah.
then people will understand. The problem is, the earlier we understand and we're careful, the better. Maybe 50% of people will be infected. And I sure plan on making sure that I take as the less risks as possible, except when I have to work. And you have to plan on being on the lucky 50%. So if you're careful, you'll be in the lucky 50%.
Mm.
If you're not, well, so
What a
so be.
what a dice roll, huh? 50%. When did you get any 50% of anything, like in diseases? Like 50%. It's every second person you see is gonna get it. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
in the next year, that's what the estimates are.
Mm.
So and it's a combination of luck, being careful, behavior, what you do to prevent, to make sure you don't get infected.
Mm.
And on that 50%, a certain percentage will be very sick, and a certain percentage will die.
Mm.
That's the name of the game. And it's really sad,
What
but
what's
unavoidable.
what's the I want to go back into the first day of your uh, entry in that hospital. What can you give us a bit your what did you do during the day? Like how did it happen? You came in, what was your
Well, first, it's not a hospital. How do you build a clinic? We're not Chinese, okay? We don't build clinics or hospitals in 7 days. So we took a youth community center, and we throw in, a desk and a computer and a stethoscope and a table, an examining table, and that's your clinic, okay?
mm,
And for the time that we had, people have worked round the clock for 24 hours, seven for a week to build that clinic, and it was really well, considering the speed and the resources, it was really well organized. And I got involved in the procedures, that how we do this, how do patient enter, do I change mask every time, how do we move around the clinic. So I got involved in this, and because I wanted to be as safe as possible. So the first 2 days I worked were kind of quiet. It's like the calm before the storm. I probably saw 20 patients, most of them likely COVID infected, and made sure that I stayed safe as much as I could with the equipment that we got. So I made sure I minimized my risk, but there is no absolute safety. There's always a calculated risk. So I didn't feel threatened, or I didn't feel that I was putting my life in danger. We were, relatively well protected, and mostly our behavior the thing we control more is our behavior. How do we wash hands? When my nose, little reflexes. You scratch your nose how many times per day? You don't realize it until you scratch your nose, but you're infected and you have a glove and there's a visor blocking you. Oh, okay, I can't scratch my nose. Oh, goddamn, what do I do? My nose itches.
Yeah, apparently it's something between 40 and 60 times a day. From what I remember, I read it somewhere. Like it's
Yeah,
humongous.
touching our face. I'm not 3 years old and I don't suck my thumb, but I touch my face all the time.
For
And
sure.
I realize it now. You're thinking, yeah. So
I wanted to know right now the recommendations are slightly changing about the whole population wearing mask versus no mask. Um, I probably told you this. I lived in Taiwan for a year and a half, and there was a very strong culture of wearing masks. Very strong. Like you were sick, you wear a mask, and sometimes you just wear a mask if you're coughing, whatever. And that strong culture, like nobody felt weird seeing other people's with masks, right? Here, I feel that if you put a mask, like people are gonna look at you if you had like leprosy. Like, do you think first there's two questions. The first one, do you think we should wear masks or no masks if it is available? And the second one, why do we have this relationship with masks in general?
Well, first I'm gonna say that you told people I was an expert, but I'm not. I'm just a family doctor. Okay,
Well,
I'm not
I said
public
more expert than me.
not public health policy maker or anything. They recommended it in the States. Was it
Yeah,
CDC
yes,
or
yesterday CDC, yeah.
okay?
And then
Well, first off,
Canadian government are kind of changing their tune a bit. They're saying in some cases it might be a good idea.
yeah, the big thing is we have to before we say something, we have to consider the consequences of what we're recommending. So, if you recommend a measure that you have to first, what's the benefit? Like, what's the effectiveness of this measure, and what's the cost? Okay. Now, in the States, for example, they have, they don't have a coordinated healthcare system. Every hospital is out for themselves, trying to find equipment and masks and everything. And basically, you might have 1,000 corporation or entities fighting for masks. Okay. And now, if you say now everybody should wear masks, now you go from 1,000 entities fighting for masks to 300 million. Okay. Now, that's the risk. The benefit is, how is this going to impact the level of transmission in our community? So I don't have all the answers. I'm not sure.
It's interesting what Taiwan did.
If you were, well, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just read the timeline, the Taiwanese timeline. In December, end of December, they already sent experts in Wuhan. Then when they came back, I think they've started to produce massively masks, and the government put a cap on the price of 17 cents. And then they did the same thing for Purell hand sanitizer, and they started to distribute them massively throughout the population, and of course testing and stuff like that. So by January, they had already measures like January, and then it was full throttle in the beginning of February. So there was one of my friends that still lived there. He said, "Well, Canadians should take a good look at what Taiwanese did, because they got the disease under control pretty fast." But I think it's also the fact that they acted very quickly compared to countries that are just like, like, hey, let's let it fly and see what happens. Like, what do you think about the Sweden attitude towards the disease?
Well, you know what? It's better to act now, be safe, and then change your mind. Sweden just decided not to do anything, and they can't change their mind. Once the fire starts, you have to let it burn. We decided to try to, control the fire, with what little water we had. Okay. And then if we want, if it doesn't work, then we say, okay, well, let it burn, like Sweden. But Sweden just said just let it burn, but they can't go back. So we have that option. Okay. And I think it's a risky bet. um I think we're doing the right thing,
Hmm.
but time will tell. About the masks, um I think the main benefit is not, if everybody wears masks, it's not about protecting ourselves, it's about protecting others. Because first off, the contamination, the transmission is mostly droplets. Okay. So it's like a fine mist or rain, droplets of water. It's still unsure that it's aeros. It's not like a gas that stays in suspension. It's most likely just droplets. So if everybody wears masks, and even though you feel that you don't have much symptoms and you're not sure that you have it, because a portion of patient will be asymptomatic and a portion of people will shed the virus before becoming symptomatic. So if we all get in the habit of wearing masks, those who are infected will be less likely to transmit it because they'll keep their droplets to them. That's it. Because it's not having a face cloth like this, breathing through a cotton mask won't protect you. um, won't protect you completely. But the main benefit is if you're infected and you have a mask, even if it's cotton or something, the droplets that you exhale will be lessened by that partial filter.
Hmm.
Okay. The cost to society is, you know, there's a big cost to 36 million people, starting to wear masks. And there are consequences, and I'm not a specialist to say, what's right and what's good and what's wrong.
Do you think we could
uh,
get through the stigma of wearing a mask fairly fast?
yeah, when sufficient fear, uh, in the States, I don't think they'll have that many problems. Like New Yorkers, I don't think they need convincing. When I think in New York, every family knows somebody who's sick, and probably everybody now knows somebody who died, and everybody knows somebody in the hospital. So, when the
Good to know.
governor of New York says wear masks, I don't think, people question that. Right now, here, you know people still can question, your neighbors can still question the validity of these actions. But when your neighbor's grandmother is in the hospital, you know I don't think you'll see their kids playing together. So,
It's
and
sad
it'll
that we
become
need to
personal.
get there. It's so sad that just a reasonable recommendation doesn't do the trick, that you literally have to see someone die. So we are doing it on an individual basis, and society does it also. For example, we will put measures in after somebody's dead. Like somebody's dead, oh my God, now. But the measure were already recommended years ago. Like you take any kind of industry, it's like that. You need a couple of deaths to be really motivated, to really feel the pressure.
Yeah,
Just logic is not enough. Just plain
it's
logic. Listen, we got to put seatbelts in cars. It's going to save lives. Trust me. No, we can't because da 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 da. So let people die. So that's what the message is. It's frustrating that you just a couple of experts together, they advise something. It's common sense. Let's just do it. Why do we need a slap in the face? Somebody like, why do we need so much pain to act? I don't get it.
Well, the answer touches on my new specialty, which is communications. And I teach doctor to care about what their patient feels, because emotions are the driver of human behavior. Okay. And I'll take a little detour just to help you understand. We tend to see ourselves as rational beings, okay, driven by reason. Okay. The reality is far different. We are chimpanzees driven by emotions and needs. Okay. And most people will question that, will say, well, no, I'm reasonable. Yeah, right. Okay. Like in your audience, everybody has tried to become fit, lose weight, or stop smoking. Okay, the information's out there. Everybody knows how to lose weight and stop smoking. Okay, you just stop smoking to lose weight. You just eat less
Get
and
closer.
move more.
Get closer.
Okay, eat less and move more. Just stop smoking. So, what happens? Do people succeed? Like, do people really succeed?
There's a
Some
very
do.
few percentage, yeah.
Okay, but most people who try to stop smoking don't succeed. Well, not on the first time. And the trick is not to start. Okay, but people are emotional beings. They're not rational. If they were rational, if we were like Data in Star Trek, you input command stop smoking, that's
Mm.
that's logic, and then command goes to orders and body reacts accordingly. So that would be a rational being, but we're emotional beings. So it doesn't work. I tell you what to do, you don't do it. Okay, I tell you stop eating cookies in the middle of the night, you won't do it because you're full of you're driven by emotions. It's the same thing here. People will be driven not by information. They will be driven by emotions. So your neighbors' kids will stop playing together when the fear touches or the pain touches their family.
Mm.
There are some people who are rational, okay, more rational than most. It's the people that when you talk to them, they listen and they act accordingly. Okay, for you, for example, you say you're an emotional person, but government says stay home. You've seen the information, you've seen the news, and you stay home. So you're more rational than your neighbors. Okay,
I think
so
as I just have faith in people being experts in a specific field that I know less about. And I have faith in these people. Like, even if people criticize the government, I always say the government is people like you and me. And there is people that are not well intended in the government, for sure. But the majority are good people. So I have faith in these people. So if they say, listen, this is for your own good, I always go, why would they want to do anything else but try to save lives? Because a lot of my friends, they have all these theories about the government, and I don't really want to get into it because I don't want to give too much conspiracy talk here. But I always tell them, I goes, it's a matter of life and death. And even if you look at it from an economical standpoint, like if you just go at economics, if you think that it costs you something right now as a business, because I'm a business owner, I was directly affected to, like, I don't have any more things to do about my business. We're closed. End of story. But if I think for a second that the government's closing me, they're going to put me out of business. If the government hasn't done anything, they just said, okay, let's do the Swedish model, it would have been as worse, if not more, for economics for everybody, anyways. And so, why not give
mhm.
credit to a move that was done fast? And yes, it's painful. Like, everybody has a different degree of pain right now, and everybody's in a different financial situation. That I agree. And I think, why not just give credit to these government officials? Like, I don't understand, why do we have to throw hate all the time at them as if they're responsible for everything we live in society? That for me, I don't understand. Like, I lived in different countries, and I will let anybody know, we have an amazing government. It's great to live in Quebec. Regardless of what you think about the government, if you were living in any other country, I'm telling you, like, for example, just Taiwan. Do you think you can walk around and criticize the government as well as here? Take Thailand, which I spent a couple of months. Do you think you can walk around and talk shit about the king? Do you think you can just do that? Like, yeah, well, I don't like his politics and stuff. People will take you off the streets. Like, that's what they're gonna do. People are gonna be so uncomfortable with that kind of talk. And here we can yap and yap and yap. I really don't understand why there's so much hate, why there's so much disconnect with our officials. Like, if they're doing something behind our back to kill us or something. What is this all about? Where does that come from? Do you have an idea or theory or something?
TV and Facebook. short answer.
Yeah.
We're watching too much TV and reading too much Facebook. And our sources of information is education. Okay, that's how we educate masses. We put out stuff, we write and we film and we talk. And now everybody now in 2020 has a voice. Everybody can say anything they want and they can have an audience. The problem is, you know that the main sources of information now, okay, what people spend time the most time on are Facebook and YouTube. Okay, so there's no filter on Facebook and YouTube for the quality of information that is published.
Hmm.
Okay, I myself have stopped reading any type of news on Facebook and any type of messages that people send from unknown sources. Now my diet, my information diet, like, information is nutrition for my brain. So my source, I feed my brain information that has comes from the purest, sources of quality. I only digest good quality information. I don't eat bad stuff. It's the same thing for my brain. So I read the New York Times, I read La Presse, I read my local journal, I watch RDI, Réseau des Informations at Radio Canada, and that's it. You know, I don't watch the news on YouTube about the latest video on what's going on in the world, because you know I don't, I value the quality of information that I expose my brain to. That's a big problem in 2020, because most people eat eat dirt. When it comes to information, it's not even McDonald's. When somebody sends me an article, that when I click on it, before being able to read the articles, there's an advertising for bras, swimming suits, casinos, all that stuff. Why do I bother reading that? you know it was most likely false advertising, false information. So that's one of the problem in our society. And that's why the anti-vax movement is still alive, because people, they'll read information that confirms their own biases. And they won't there's no culture of you know good quality information, and we don't want to pay for it. We just want everything to be free. Okay, good journalism and good information costs something, and I'm presently paying for my membership to New York Times. I'm free. I'm giving monthly donations to La Presse and Journal Le Droit, my local newspaper, because I want these sources of information, you know, to survive and thrive, because they're important. I don't want to be these sources of information to die and then rely only on YouTube to feed my brain.
Yeah, I listened to a couple of journalists saying that journalism that investigate things is the most costly journalism, but it's the most important in our democratic society. But right now, to do an investigation, it takes weeks, months. And then you write one piece of 10 pages, for example, if you uncover a story. And they said that this kind of journalism, which is the most important, is basically going down the gutter because everybody's about clicks and free. And you're absolutely right. It's a very sad state of affairs. So our brain is suffering from outrage metrics of Facebook. Click, 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 click.
Yeah.
When I understood that, like maybe 2-3 years ago, it really hit me. I heard that term, outrage metrics. And I goes like, what the hell is this outrage metrics? I was just basically studying the core kind of capacity of every human being to stay on a platform and clicking away. So basically, you're just feeding me information for me to stay there, right? So it's like a drug. So the first time when you realize it, okay, so it's like a drug. It really functions the same way, dopamine receptors and stuff like that. And but it's all, when you think about the activity itself, you are head down, staring at a screen, and you're doing nothing. And also, I saw it on the business side, the amount of targeting I could do, like it was growing. So my doubts about the social, let's call it networks like Facebook and all that stuff, and the way I could target people to put my business ads on it, because I was running a dance school. The more it became granular, the more I was like, how the hell did they know this information? It's like I had the first time it hit me, it was I could have the race of the person, which is the weirdest thing. Like there was like Asians. It was like, what is this? You know, it was very controversial at the beginning. And the second one, it was like expecting parents. The first time, like ever, it just bothered me to see it because, like, well, expecting parents, how the hell did they know that? Like, how did they figure out? Nobody writes, I'm an expectant parent. But that was like about 5 years ago when it started to hit me. And I was thinking, oh my God, this is pollution. So I started this year, just before COVID, I rolled back all my ads. I went from spending $500 a month of ads to $50. And I really wanted to know if that would affect my bottom line. And the short answer, because the test wasn't long enough, is no, no effect on my bottom line. So I was like, okay, I just
Okay.
ran the test for about 3 to 6 months. It's not fair. I wanted to go a year without putting a lot of ads, but continue to make quality content. And I was wondering if my quality content would be enough to give me leverage. And then COVID happened.
But now you'll have to move your business online.
Oh yeah,
You don't have
100%.
to stop doing anything. You know, you were thinking. I'm pretty sure you had that idea at some point in the last few years.
Yeah,
Do I move my lessons online?
yeah,
Okay, so you know that's what will happen. Anything that is teachable, coachable,
100%.
instructable will move online. And if you want to, you know, keep doing business, you'll people will love to have in person. There will always be a niche for that for these services once the pandemic is done. But the online business of education, and when I say education, I mean, you know, school and training and anything you can train of. Well, we got a kickstart from COVID.
Yeah,
It's all moving. It was moving online at a snail's pace, and now it just got, you know, energized.
100%. How do
So
you think? How do you think? What's your take with all the data that you have? How do you think society, in what way actually, it's going to start trying to go back to normal? How does it happen? In what timeline do you think?
I don't know. I'm not sure, because when I was thinking about these things a few weeks ago, now my mind has changed a few weeks later, and our ideas change constantly. Our prediction change constantly. You know, when I was thinking about the stock market and the pandemic and the healthcare, you know, I didn't expect that. I expected a market crash and the healthcare, you know, our healthcare system would stumble. But I didn't expect the widespread economic consequences. I did not expect that your business would close, that my restaurant, my friend's restaurant would close, that my, you know, everything would close. I didn't expect that. So, you know, and then, oh yes, if we want to stop that, we have to stay home and then, you know, let's close everything. But, you know, there are things that we can't, are difficult to predict because this is a completely uh, new challenge for our society, and we've never seen this. So that's maybe why financial analysts have not been able to predict the crash, and because they're relying they're relying their prediction on the history and their experiences, and you become, when you have so much experiences, your vision starts to narrow.
Hmm.
And I'm not an expert, I'm not a financial analyst, I'm just, but I had an insight because I'm a doctor, and I understood healthcare, and I was able to see how the pandemic would become the main sources source of emotion throughout the world, and how it would drag the stock market down.
I think that
So
the thing that my concern is that not only there's going to be different reopening, probably it's going to be incremental with businesses, is
mhm.
the protect the what should I say this, the particular thing about dancing salsa. And I think it, because I have also a friend that has a jiu-jitsu school, he's got in the same kind of situation. We are doing a sport or an art that involves extreme close proximity. Therefore, we are the sport and the art that is most conducive to COVID. So if we want to spread, if a virus had to choose somebody in the society, if I was the virus, I would pick these two clients, the salsa dancer and the jiu-jitsu practitioner. But we will be, in my headspace right now, the last to open because of
Yep.
these two things, right? If we were
Hmm.
able to do classes 2 meters away, that's not going to happen because it's like the social aspect of our art is like extremely times 10 because we're like at 2 centimeters away from each other. And that concerns me because whenever there's a plan to reopen, and I heard different things like 6 months, at the end of the year, maybe towards next year. I'm following a bit the school schedule. That's just a mandate that I gave myself. Whatever the school's going to decide, that's going to be my starting point. If the schools are
Hmm.
closed, I'm closed. If the schools are open, we will see. It's going to green light some ideas in my head. I have an idea, but I'm not sure if that's going to go that way. I think that it's going to start virtual and people are going to be in small cells, like they're going to practice, maybe they start going to be couples and then maybe couples and a couple of friends. But I have a hard time picturing, okay, if they go, all right, so everybody, we're okay, the virus doesn't exist anymore, or there's just 0 or 10 cases, we reopen everything, then I open my school and everybody comes running. I just don't see it. I don't know, do you see it?
No.
I'm just thinking, some people told me people are going to be in so much isolation that they will want that, and I'm not buying it. I'm like,
No.
I'm not sure about that, especially what you said, when people we know start to get sick, it's going to bring it even more home, and maybe it's going to change the behavior of the whole society towards activities like this. That's my worst case scenario. I don't know what you're
Yes,
feeling.
but eventually the virus will die out and people will become immune. And if there's ever another pandemic, we'll be much more prepared.
Hmm.
And I trust that we are social animal driven by needs and emotions, and people want and need closeness. You can't uh, try raising your kid on FaceTime, or leave for 2 weeks your house and just see what happens to your relationship with your daughter and your wife. Okay, it's we need closeness. We need to touching and emotion. And so I don't think I don't think that this need will go away.
It
It
won't
will
go away, but
trend.
don't you find that that's the particular aspect? Like, how should I say this? This is the most frustrating aspect of that virus, is the takeaway of that need. It's the, like, people that are like, I know people that are alone. Like I can vent, I we can FaceTime. I have my wife, I have my children. Right now, it's for me, it's a lifesaver. If I didn't have these people around me, if I was really alone for months, first of all, it's not a good idea to leave me alone. I
No.
will spiral down. It would be no. I think it would be really hard for me to remain morally sane. I'm not. I'm not a. I have, like, I feel fragile
You
sometimes.
understand your vulnerabilities.
Big time. Big
Hmm.
time. Like, if I didn't have people, I don't know. And I really feel for grandmothers that are alone. That, man, that's how you can. I'm lost of words. It's just that part is just sometimes people compared it at the beginning to the we had like the ice crisis where we had like this 1998 where everything stops. We had no electricity for 3 weeks, and we had that community.
Hmm.
Everybody went together, and it was brilliant. It had like this community feeling, and we can't have that right now. And on top of it, what I kind of remembered how when we got back electricity, how fast we went back to our old ways. It was instantaneous. And I wonder
Yeah.
if with that disease, if that's going to be the case.
Well, we went to our old ways because it didn't hurt that much.
I don't know what I'm
You
laughing.
know, when grandmother dies, well, it's difficult to say how we'll react.
Mm.
But I think the basic human needs for closeness won't go away, and there will be a lot of people who will you'll lose a lot of students, okay, but some will come back, and there'll be a period of transition where people will recover from all that suffering and all that fear.
Mm.
But basic human physiology, basic human fundamentals is we are social animal, and we need people to stay mentally healthy. So I'm more afraid, honestly, I'm more afraid of the psychological suffering that comes with the pandemic than the pandemic itself. I mean, you've got a guy who just ran over, almost probably killed another guy at Walmart, just for because the guy was trying to do his job. You know, that's 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 bad. You have people. There's probably a lot of domestic conflicts and a lot of stress that's building up in houses and families in our province. So I'm worried about this. But as you said, when the pandemic will be done, there'll be a transition, but this need will still be there unfulfilled for many months. And I
Mm.
think people will gather again and celebrate. I know I'm planning a big party, inviting all my friends when the pandemic is done and we can gather again. I'm inviting you here, and we're having a big barbecue, and we're
Can
all
you
dancing
can you
and
imagine?
kissing.
And but that's what I was thinking. I goes, how much a hug from a friend's gonna feel like? Like we're gonna
Yeah,
hug the shit out of each other.
yeah.
We're gonna hug like if like we lost the hugs for years. Like it's just crazy. The kind of, how should I say, the worry about proximity right now that we have with humans. We're like dodging
Yeah.
people. You're like it's scary. It's because it's the first time in our lives we never were challenged this way ever.
The more I think of it, Elias, I'm not worried about your business. The example I'll give you is like, I'm not seeing my girlfriend for 14 days, okay, because I worked at the clinic and everything, and I don't want to kiss her or anything. But when I see her in 14 days, she'll get a good, big, wet kiss.
Ah!
So your students who have not danced for many months, they'll come back running to you because they like dancing, and they'll be bored out of their
I'll
minds.
be wearing a
There's so
wetsuit,
much you can do.
just a
Yeah.
wetsuit. Just make sure we. Hey, listen.
So this, yeah,
No, I just wanted to I know we talked about some a very very heavy subject. I wanted to wrap it up with something lighter, if you don't mind.
okay,
You know,
yeah,
I have some rapid fire questions. So here how it goes, just so people can get to know you better. You just
okay,
answer whatever comes in mind. Okay, I have about 10 of
yeah,
them. Are you ready? Are
yeah.
you ready? In the left corner from Gatineau, Quebec, weighing I don't know how many pounds, Marte Pham Dinh. Here we go, rapid fire questions. So, what excites you?
Mountain bike,
What is your favorite curse word?
tabernacle,
What other profession would you like to attempt?
cook.
What you're not very good at?
What I'm not good at, anything not medicine.
Who's your role model and why?
My father. because he gave me the one big quality that helped me get here is perseverance.
What you have been most satisfied in your life? When have you been most satisfied in your life?
Now,
What things do you not like to do?
um, what things do I not like to do? Clean up my house.
What is your superpower?
My reason.
What's something people seem to misunderstand about you?
They don't know. They don't realize how crazy I am.
Okay, so last one. If you could turn back time and talk to your 18-year-old self, what would you tell him?
My 18-year-old self, be more patient.
And so to finish this off, what do you think about the toilet paper situation? What does that have to do with anything?
Well, thanks to you, I have a bidet now. That's what I think. I am toilet paper independent.
But
Thanks to you, Elias. You convinced me.
listen, there's two things about that water gun on a toilet. Call it the bidet. When I was living in Taiwan, the first time I was struck that was the norm. Like in Thailand, it was the same thing. Everybody has a douche on the beginning. I was like, hey, you want to wash my butt with that? I was like, and then you get to understand that it's much cleaner to do it that way than to wipe your butt with your paper, the toilet paper. And when I came back here, I couldn't do it anymore. Like I didn't feel it's not happening. Let's put a douche. And then I said to my wife, I'm gonna put one upstairs. I was putting one downstairs. She's like looking at me like a weirdo. I said, don't worry about it. She's like, I'll put it, whatever. I goes, don't put it in the middle toilet because people think we're gonna be weird. It's like nobody's gonna think it's gonna be weird. It's gonna be funny. It's like,
No.
and when I put it in,
You can discuss shit now with people when they come in your
oh,
house.
yes. Let's common denominator. But here's the funniest story I like to tell people. I go, okay, so because my head doesn't understand why do you want to wipe your ass for 10 times with paper, right? So I go and I say, when you walk in the street, and you have boots, right? He goes, yeah. And you step in shit, like dog shit, and you have shit in your boots, do you take Kleenexes to wipe it off? Like, what do you do? I goes, I take a hose. Well, that's what I do with my ass.
You know what? I had the same discussion with somebody today. I'm like, okay, now go in my backyard. I have a dog. Okay, pick up shit with your hand. Okay, pick up shit. And then what will you do? Okay,
Same thing.
do you want paper towels? And then we'll eat. I'll give you paper towels. Okay, and then we'll eat. Okay, or do you want to wash with water? So yeah, everybody will wash with water. Well, I think we should treat our asses the same thing we treat our hands.
Yeah.
So you got me there. You got me at this argument.
I go when somebody was arguing with me. Let's say I told them if I gave the choice to somebody to eat a salad out of my ass and out of your ass, trust me, they'll choose mine because mine sparkly clean. But that guy over there, not too sure about that guy. He's used toilet paper. And also let me just say there's no irritation, right? You never get irritated. There's no problem. You don't have to waste trees. You don't have to wipe forever. You know that kind of shit that you can never wipe, like 10 times and you're still on there. No
Mhm.
problem. So I was thinking, okay, so Taiwan, they did that because they don't have access to a lot of trees. For them, paper is very precious. And when I was asking, like, let's say a loose leaf to because I was teaching English. Can you believe this? Teaching English.
Mhm.
And I was asking a paper, just can you give me just a piece of paper? They will hold their paper and they look at me like, what are you going to do with the paper? I go, just give me a paper. I'm just going to write something. And she goes, I just have 20 of them. And I go, okay. So they hit me the first time. Their relationship to paper is very different over there than here. Here we're like throwing stuff away at paper, just right at the corner. You just chuck it in the recycling bin. Down there, they don't fuck around with paper. So it's normal for them not to wipe their asses with the paper. And that's it. That's a situation. But I enjoyed it. I discovered it and I brought it back to Quebec. And then
I have a question.
Go.
Yeah. Do you have the warm version or the cold
No,
version?
I don't have the warm version. I don't have. Do you have the warm
version? Because I installed the cold one because I just wanted to try. But I think upstairs near my bedroom, I'll install the warm water version.
But are you going to install the Toto one with like the Japanese one? Is this the water gun, or it's like the bowl? Like
I just wanted a warm one so that you feels warm.
I'll tell you something.
Because honestly, I just installed it today and it's kind of cold. It's kind of an aggression on my.
Especially if it's in the basement, because the water doesn't travel that much. It comes directly from the ground. So when it's minus 20 outside, your asshole goes.
So there you've learned something, eh? It's your ass being the thermometer for your house water.
This is what it's wonderful. We went from an extremely important subject to another extremely important subject, but that has less impact in our lives.
Yeah. Thank you, Idiot, for your wonderful influence on my life.
Thank you very much. Listen, if I can bring something to you to support you in your endeavors, I'm always here.
Okay.
And of course, if your ass thanks me, then it's even better.
I'll give you some cold reviews next month because I got the cold version, and when I install the warm version, I'll give you warm reviews.
Alrighty. So listen, let's wrap this up. I just want to finish with, first of all, to thank you for doing this. I wanted to have you on the podcast for quite a while now, and I know that you're busy with tons of things. And I want to also finish with saluting your courage. I think this is something that I admire, and I want to wish you the best of luck. And I know that with people like you that decide, you could have coasted your retirement and just do something else, and you decided to go back. It's extremely commendable. And I have nothing but appreciation and admiration for that action.
Thanks, Idios.
All right. So I salute you, my friend. Take care. Have a good one. So that was Martin Pham Dinh, guys. Take care. See you in the next podcast. Bye-bye.